Hello and welcome to Run Testers. My name's Nick. In this video I'm going to be comparing the Hoka Clifton 10 and the Asics Novablast 5. So the Clifton 10 and the Novablast 5 are both very solid mid-range daily trainers that will suit a range of runners that offer a nice blend of comfort and a little bit of versatility. They both come in at around the same price. The Novablast 5 is already available with the Clifton 10 set to launch in April. The Hoka costs $150, not sure on the UK price as yet, whereas the Asics costs $140 and £135 in the UK, so it is the slightly cheaper shoe. Novablast is also the lighter shoe at 274 grams or 9.7 ounces in the UK 9, whereas the Clifton 10 is 285 grams or 10 ounces in the UK 9. They both have a stack height of 8mm, which is a little bit unusual for a Hoka shoe. They usually have a stack height of 5mm, and the Hoka has a stack height of 42mm at the heel, whereas the Novablast is 41.5mm. With the Novablast, you have a jacquard mesh upper with quite a lot of padding around the collar of the shoe. Not too much on the tongue though, that's still fairly thin. You've got a pretty substantial internal heel counter there to add some structure at the back of the upper. You've got an FF Blast Max midsole, which is a fairly soft material, but a little bit of energy return to it as well, with sidewalls of foam at the back of the shoe there to kind of cradle your foot and add more support and stability for what is quite a high stack shoe. It's also got a pretty wide base to help with stability as well. Then you've got an AHA low rubber outsole with pretty good coverage along the length of the shoe, even if there is some exposed foam in the middle there. Then with the Clifton 10, you've got a jacquard knit upper. Again, a lot of padding around the collar and this high raised heel tab that you get on a lot of Hoka shoes to cradle the Achilles. Got a lot more padding on the tongue of the Clifton than you have on the Asics. Again, big internal heel counter, which is part of this rear foot active frame to add stability to the Clifton 10, which also includes some things we've seen on the Novablast as well, like sidewalls of foam for your foot to sit in, that big internal heel counter, big wide base on the Clifton 10 as well to create a naturally stable ride. You have a compression molded EVA midsole on the Clifton 10 and Hoka's usual Meta Rocker design on the shoe to kind of smooth out your transition from heel to toe. There's also a slight rocker on the Novablast, I should say. And then there's a Durabrasion rubber outsole on the Hoka with good coverage on the forefoot and heel as well. Pretty similar coverage on both shoes. There's some exposed foam, but all the key impact areas are covered with a decent layer of rubber. On to the fit, and I've got a UK 9 in both of these shoes, but with Hoka it's a US 9.5 and it's a US 10 with the Asics, so if you're using UK sizing, do bear in mind that the Hoka might come up a little bit smaller. In general, the Hokas tend to have quite a dialed in fit all round. There will be wide and extra wide versions of the Clifton 10 available to try and remedy that if you do have a wide foot. I've been very happy with the fit of both of these shoes in my normal size. I think the Asics has a slightly roomier forefoot all round, even taking into account it's a slightly bigger size in the US. I think it's just a roomier shoe in general, but a good hold around the heel and midfoot and no concerns at all using my normal running shoe size for both of these brands, so I would stick to that. On to the run test then, and these are two solid mid-range daily trainers that are designed to appeal to a wide range of runners and do a good job in providing a nice balanced ride that will suit lots of people pretty well, and the two shoes that I enjoyed using myself. They both have a little bit of versatility for kind of easy to steady progression runs, tempo efforts, that kind of things. They can be used as daily trainers, but for me I think they really excel more on the comfort front. They're really good for easy and easy paced long runs in particular. You're getting a nice amount of natural stability here, good level of comfort, but it's not really a mushy or softness underfoot that you feel with these shoes. They're not gone all the way into the max cushioned cruiser realm. They still do have a bit of life to them. They have a nice rocker that pushes you onto your toes, and the foams have a little bit of energy there, so they're fairly versatile daily training options, but for me they're both geared more towards comfort. And you very much have a lot of similarities with both of these shoes here in the way they feel on the run. You've got the same 8mm drop, you've got a little bit of rocker on both shoes, you've got a lot of natural stability with sidewalls of foam, wide bases, and you've got two foams in the midsoles, neither of which is really a standout foam that delivers an incredibly lively and energetic ride, but mostly has quite a comfortable feel, does deliver a little bit of energy return, but in general it's the rockers and the kind of geometry of the shoes that you feel, and it actually is quite similar for both shoes, I'd say. Certainly on easy runs I think they have quite similar feels, but if you do start to up the pace a little bit, the foams do come into play a bit more, and I think that the FF Blast Max foam you have on the Asics is a lively material with a bit more energy return than the pretty standard EVA you have here on the Hoka. So when I was running in both shoes at the same time in particular, like when I was cruising along at an easy pace, they did feel very similar, like to the point where you'd look down and go, even though they look very different here, and there's lots of differences in theory between them, a very similar feel with a nice relaxed feeling, rolling from heel to toe, lots of support, lots of cushioning, lots of stability. Then when you start to up the pace, the Asics does come into its own a little bit more. Like, it's not like this is the liveliest foam underfoot, but do feel a bit more off the toes with it. It does feel a bit more natural to run at faster speeds in than the Hoka for me. It's also a lighter shoe, which does help on that front. They're both big shoes all round. They've both got very built up heels, and actually I think the heel bevel on the Hoka is a bit smoother for me than the one on the Novablast 5. No any problems with the one on the Asics, but I felt like I was moving onto my midfoot a bit more easily and naturally with the Hoka. But actually, when it then came to toeing off, I think I preferred the feel of the Novablast. I also think a bit more comfort under the forefoot from the Asics. I think the stack heights, are pretty similar. The Hoka Clifton 10 actually has a very slightly higher stack height, but got a firmer feeling from the foam. And I think under the forefoot in particular, I do think as someone who's a heel striker and snaps through a little bit, I get a slightly more comfortable feeling under the forefoot from the Asics over long distances because of the slightly softer foam you have here in the midsoles. So yeah, while my predominant feeling from testing these shoes individually and then testing them at the same time was that these are very similar shoes, surprisingly so, I would say, I do slightly prefer the feeling of the Asics because of what I think is a mildly superior foam in the midsole. Verdict is that these are two really good daily trainers that will work for lots of different runners, and they have a quite similar feel overall, but I do prefer the Asics slightly. I think you've got a slightly better foam in there, which does create a livelier toe off and a better feeling when you're running at speed, and in general a bit more comfort for long runs as well. It's also the cheaper shoe. I think the fit will work very well for lots of people as well, especially if you have a wider foot, or even though I don't think this is an especially narrow shoe, the Clifton 10, compared to some of the past models, it isn't quite as spacious as the Asics, and when you're looking at easy runs in particular, that might be a benefit for lots of people to have that extra room in the toe box. If you do prefer a slightly firmer feel, and actually maybe if you like the Asics Novablast 4 a lot and a bit put off the Novablast 5 by reports of it being a bit softer, the Clifton 10 might actually be a very suitable replacement for the Novablast 4 because it does have a slightly firmer feel than the Asics Novablast 5, I would say. Both shoes for me, I would slip into rotation at the cushioned end of things. Like, they can be used as your daily trainer. If you're a newer runner in particular, I would look at one of these shoes for everything. I think they can do that job of ticking off all your runs. If you're someone who has a rotation, if you want dedicated speed work shoes, these wouldn't be it. These would be shoes that you'd have in your rotation more to hoover up easy mileage, and they do a really good job of that. And then you maybe have something lighter and faster, or maybe something with a plate in it for your speed runs. I don't think you need to get another cushion shoe alongside this, though. I think they're both so comfortable and good for easy runs. You don't necessarily need to look at the max cushion in both of these shoes ranges as well. So something like the Nimbus 27 for Asics or the Bondi 9 for Hoka, those are good shoes. They've got a little bit more cushioning, but not that much more. And these are definitely comfortable shoes for easy runs and a fair bit cheaper. So I think both of them stand out in their range for that compared to the the premium max cushioned offerings. But yeah, like I say, overall, lots of similarities there. Both do a really good job. I slightly prefer the Asics Novablast 5. It's a bit cheaper. It's probably the one I'd get from the two. That's our comparison of the Asics Novablast 5 and the Hoka Clifton 10. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please do like, subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.